Shalom Yasharala. Thank y'all for joining me in another Become Set Apart presentation. This video is titled Apollo, the False Light Messiah. The entire point of this study is for you to see thy enemy that has been singled out in the last days. Apollo is mentioned by name, the only fallen angel mentioned by name in the book of Revelation about these end time prophecies. So it's very important to study so we don't fall into the deception of being marked by the lawless one, Apollo. Because we are in the falling away. 2 Thessalonians 2, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Messiah, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Messiah is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalts himself above all that is called God, or the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as Elohim sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is God. And that's what this study is about. See thy enemy, know thy enemy, separate yourself from him and the world, because the son of perdition is the false light deity in the last days, Apollo. So we're going to start off from the beginning, though. We're going to start off with sun worship and what the people that worship the sun do for deities such like Apollo, because Apollo isn't the only sun deity. Every nation from the beginning of mankind has been worshiping the sun. So this is a clip from the movie Apocalypto, just giving a visual of what it may have looked like for people that worship the sun. These are supposed to be natives of the Americas in this movie, and we see it also in art, paintings and drawings. We see how they have a sun in the corner, and they're doing their sacrificial ritual of people, because every civilization and nation did practices like this that would be an abomination, obviously, for the Most High's people, but this is what they did to worship the sun. We see it also in the building structures, how this is an outline of a sun setting upon the waters. the same temples and mounts and pyramids that they used to sacrifice or dedicate it to the sun. And to kick it up a notch, when you see the sun rise and the movement of the sun, it moves at a 23.4 degree tilt. From our visual, if you go tomorrow morning and look outside at the sun rise, it'll rise and then it'll start tilting to the right, and that is at a 23.4 degree angle. So I'm telling you this because it goes that deep. You know, you always have that person that it's like, it's not that deep, bro, but it really is. They're serious about worshiping their gods to the point that they even built the number of the degree of the sun into their structures in multiple ways, from tower to tower to the structure of the entire building is built upon the degree axis of the sun. And there's more, just like this pyramid, to the doors of the pyramid, to this ancient structure. And we see it from the pillars outside of it to the inside sanctuary. It's all still based off of, built on the degree of 23.4. Same thing with Egyptian artifacts and gods. We see this number and angle built throughout creation because they have always worshiped the luminaries. There's nothing new under the sun. And we're still in this today. It's just more disguised. So you may not know you are honoring the sun if you are doing some of the things you may see in this video. Because everything comes back to the worship of creation. The angle of the sun from sunrise to sunset matches the angle that is squared up from neck to neck, that goes right in the middle of your heart, because creation mimics creation, right? Acts 7:42. Then the Most High turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. Everything that we do in this life, the fallen angels, the demons, the devils of this world is trying to get you to worship creation or yourself, which we can see right here can be one and the same, because that only builds pride, right? If you're worshiping creation, which can be also embodying the worshiping of angels. And then if you're worshiping yourself, I mean, hello, that's all pride. So if you want more insight on how just infused creation is with the worshiping of, I mean, logos, slogans, is everything, just like we looked at those buildings, every single thing that's built in our societies is based off of creation itself. So that's what this video gives insight on. Check it out if you choose to on my YouTube, Code of Mankind. There's 2 parts. Continuing, we have sun salutation. This is a Hindu practice that's now worldwide, even in your churches, that people do yoga, and yoga means to yoke. So the first question you should have finding out what yoga means is that, what are we yoking with? And it's not of the kingdom. We're not yoking with the Most High. We're yoking with demonic entities. That's what this is all about. Sun salutation. It's sun worship. It's movements that usually they have you, if you're doing it intentionally, facing the east, the sunrise. And it says it right here from this internet yogi site. Since the beginning of time, the sun has been a symbol of life. Ancient engravings and paintings depict the sun's rays as the interim between our bodies and the celestial heaven. Our ancestors not only saw the sun as life-giving energy, but also as the origin of all spiritual life. Like sun worship ran all over it. Yoga is no exception. The sun is not only the creator of all life. I mean, you can't get more clear than that of what they believe, right? but also the physical manifestation of the soul. The sun illuminates our true nature so we may cultivate compassionate connections with ourselves and others in this cosmic world. And then we also see the inner sun also is reference to a higher wisdom. That's a reoccurring pattern with sun worship as well. We'll see throughout this study. Deuteronomy 17:3, and has gone and served other gods and worshiped them, either the sun or moon or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded. And, just be a 100. If you are doing something you see in this video, it's okay. That's the point of the video. Repent, ask for forgiveness, and just don't do it again. Because I did this type of yoga stuff before, but I was ignorant. And that's okay, as long as you repent and turn away from it. And we have been warned. Yes, sun worship is even in the Bible, or scriptures, I should say. Ezekiel 8, this said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? So this is in secret. Every man in the chambers of his imagery, for they say, O Adon, seeth us not, the Most High has forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. So this is a abomination we're reading about that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Most High's house, which was towards the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Tammuz is one of the well-known sun deities, right? The son of Nimrod. And this is also where you get the Christian cross, Tammuz cross, originates with this guy. So this is sun worship. Establishing the greater abomination is pointing towards sun worship. But it gets worse. Then said he unto me, hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Adon's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Most High, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men. Remember this. This is 25 men. We'll see this later. But the main point here is, with their backs towards the temple of the Most High and their faces towards the east. The sun rises towards the east, and they worship the sun towards the east. And we see a precept here given the same idea of this story in Ezekiel and Jeremiah 32, because of all the evil of the children of Israel and the children of Judah, which they have done to provoke me to anger, they, their kings, their princes, their priests, and their prophets, and the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And they have turned unto me the back and not the front. Your back to the temple of the Most High have you facing east towards the sun worship here. Though I taught them, rising up early and teaching them, yet they have not hearkened to receive instruction, but they set their abominations in the house, which is called by my name, to defile it. And we see that there is a group named Freemasonry, that actually has a motto that says, look, always look to the east. I wonder who they're talking about, because they're still here, alive and well. All their churches and altars face the east. So when you sit to praise in a lot of these established churches, the audience that's sitting is facing the east because the altar is at the end of the church that is due east, or at least in the east direction. So they're getting you to submit to do sun worship without you really knowing it. Not saying, I can't vouch to say every church, but at least the prominent churches, altars do face the east. So that's the idea of the base of what some of the things that sun worshipers do, which we also need to look out for and check. But mostly if you're doing something spiritually that's not in the word, that's a safe way to know that if it's right or wrong. If you can't find it, then don't practice it. So now let's go to sun deities, because Lucifer is a sun, Apollo is a sun deity. And all sun deities are Lucifers that we're about to get into in a bit. So before we continue, I'm going to go to this website here, just a basic website of a list of solar sun deities. And we see that every single nation under the sun has or had a sun deity. And there's a purpose for all of this. These are all what you would call false lights, false messiahs. They're false sons, right? From Hindu, we just got done talking about yoga. That's these guys, but they're all, in the same boat. All has the same agenda. And then the star of the show, which is by name, the only reason why we're talking about Apollo is because the Bible gives us his name, so we should maybe check him out, right? We see him right here in the Greek mythology and so on. So this is just to show you that every nation has a sun god, and there's a purpose behind that because they're all trying to emulate the true light. And these false lights are referred to as Lucifer. And this word is derived from Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Which didst weaken the nations. Yes, it did. And Lucifer here means light bearer. So if this was translated properly, the correct translation will most likely be light bearer. But we got the Lucifer translation because someone translated it that way and it stuck for probably occult reasons. But this word can also mean the morning star, which we'll talk about later. And it usually is a person that is a figure bearing a torch. Yes, exactly. He's letting you know he is holding a light, and we know this is a false light. The torch represents the occult, exactly, occult arts and sciences and doctrines and dogmas. So this is, we'll see that Apollo represents medicine, which is pharmakeia, or the heliocentric model. So that's really what this light represents. It's a false light of doctrines, dogma, and science that is just buffoonery, really. And we see them throughout. We're going to go into details with the Statue of Liberty, from the Lucifer painting to the musician tarot card to Prometheus. There's plenty of light bearers and sun deities to lead you astray if you choose to follow them. So before we move forward, I wanted to give purpose for all the sun deities and all the deities, the moon, the stars. Why are they here? Why are there so many? Starting in Jasher 9, this is at the Tower of Babel. And the Most High said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near to him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. Continuing with Deuteronomy 32:8 in the Septuagint. When the Most High divided the nations, right here at the Tower of Babel, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of the Most High. And this is 70. So this is just a precept clarifying that he created 70 nations according to the 70 angels. And these are not good angels. These are those mythology angels I just showed you, all those sun deities. That's why all these other nations have all these other deities, because they were given to them. The nations, the origin of the nations is angel worship. This is why, for example, in Leviticus 20, it says this: ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land, whether I will bring you to dwell therein, spew you not out, and ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhor them. He despises the other nations because they committed all these iniquities, and that's what happened at the Tower of Babel, and that's why he gave them over to the other angels, because they didn't want to serve him. So he gave them over to their lust and their desires, which the other fallen angels will give to them. So do not walk like the other nations. You shouldn't be a proud Spaniard. You shouldn't be a proud American and so on. Of all these pagan nations, you got to let it go, because they are not of the Most High. Only Israel is the portion of the Most High, as we read in Jasher 67. If it seem good to the king, let him decease from the Hebrews and leave them, and let him not stretch forth his hand against them, for these are they whom the Most High chose in the days of old, and took as the lot of his inheritance from amongst all the nations of the earth and the kings of the earth. And who is there that stretched his hand against them with impunity, of whom their Elohim was not avenged? So this is just saying that this Hebrew/Israelite nation is different. They have been chosen, unlike the rest of the nations has been handed over. The inheritance of Israel is the kingdom. The inheritance of all of the nations is damnation. There's only one people he's coming back to save, which is what leads to why it says in Jasher 63, O Adon, Elohim of Abraham and Isaac, my ancestors, this day I know that thou art a true Elohim, and all the gods of the nations are vain and useless. For there's many gods, but one creator. One of the 10 commandments, thou shalt have no other gods before me. This verse, this commandment is way more complex than one may think. It isn't just as simple as, oh yeah, I'm not putting any God in front of him. It's how you praise, it's how you work, it's how you live. You could be worshiping of angels if you are not checking everything that you are practicing. If you are not clarifying what you're hanging up in your home, what you're eating even, is that deep. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many. There are many gods. He tells you don't worship no other gods because there's many gods. That's why that's the deception of just saying God or praying to God, because there's many of them. The Most High has a name. Haya is his name. 2 Corinthians 4:4, in whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Messiah, who is the image of the Most High, should shine upon them. And I just showed you how all nations have sun deities. Do y'all think America is any different? So y'all know I believe in the true Messiah. So this is not saying the Messiah isn't the real light, the Messiah of the Bible, the Messiah of Scripture that keeps the commandments and preaches the commandments. But this guy right here, this is a false image of the Messiah and a false teacher as well. This is the image of the lawless one. This is why when the New Testament Bible first was printed or established, structured, it was called Helios Biblios, sun book, after the Greek god, because they were trying to combine Jewish practices and scripture and pervert it, just like they're doing now in churches. They were trying to combine, which they did. They didn't just try, they accomplished. They combined with Saturnalia and Christmas. They combined Easter, fertility practices, all into what is supposed to be in the Bible. But that's the point. They put a name on it, but it's really sun worship. It's really deity, false deity worship. That's why whatever this guy preaches isn't in the Bible. Easter, Christmas, etc. We're not commanded to celebrate his birthday, period. And the Tammuz cross, which we already spoke about. In Colossians 2, this is what all of this is the point of. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, because this guy doesn't teach the food law. He's just a puppet of a Masonic agenda to keep us blinded. We just read it, to keep us blinded from the truth, or in respect of any holy day, because this guy doesn't tell you to keep the holy days. He tells you to keep his birthday in December, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come. But the body is of Mashiach. So these are all good things, shadows of what we're going to get more into in the millennium kingdom. Let no man beguile you of your reward in voluntary humility and worshiping of angels. This is the worship of a sun deity, which is an angel, a god of this world, intruding into those things which he has not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind. So yes, America is not Israel. So if every other nation has a sun deity, so does America. And he goes by Jesus Christ. And that's another thing too. That's why he has a first and last name, because the sun deity matches the people that worship him. Think about it. Apollo, Horus, no other sun deities has a last name. This guy does, because he's a westernized, modernized deity, sun deity for us right now. And that's why he is relatable. And this verse is all about him. For the mystery of the lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way. And then the lawless one will be revealed, whom the Messiah will kill with the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan, with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, Elohim sends them a strong delusion. This is what happened at the Tower of Babel, so that they may believe what is false, in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Exactly what happened at the Tower of Babel. And the coming of the lawless one in doctrine is Jesus Christ. But as an angelic being is Apollo, which is the entire point that we're going to get to. And he's the focus on him will be coming at the back half. And this is a well-known occultist here that says, no one will enter the New World Order unless he or she will make a pledge to worship Lucifer. No one will enter the New Age unless he will take a Luciferian initiation. The point I bring this up is because, like, an average Christian, for example, will think that it's going to come down to them, someone coming to them and saying, you have to deny your Messiah and you have to take this Luciferian initiation. No, it's not going to look like that, y'all. If you are in religion of the world, if you are doing pagan practices, in other words, if you're a Christian that does what Christians do, you have already took the pledge. You already have been initiated. Anything that is that you're doing, yoga, Christianity with pagan practice, etc., etc. That's how you take an oath, a pledge, an initiation. You've already done it. That's the problem. That's why he's going to be able to come like a thief in the night. And a lot of people not even going to know that they're already in the New World Order, because everyone's waiting for someone to go and pop them a question saying, do you deny your Lord and Savior? It don't work that way, because they don't even serve the true Messiah anyway. But it's not going to work that way. It's about how you live and what your faith portrays by your works. This is why it says in Revelation 18:4, because most of the world, most of his people are in it right now. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Because if you are in it, you're a part of it, and you will be judged and punished. Pray for wisdom, and he will give it to you. James chapter 1, this is what this is about. Showing you different angles of Apollo in his kingdom that is at hand. So now the true light versus the false light, because there's multiple lights here. Some people just throw out everything. They're like, oh, the Messiah is fake. The New Testament is fake, because they get on, I don't know, some type of false light studying or research, and they see some of this stuff. It's like, guys, there is a true light. That's why, that's the point of all the sun deities, to make Messiah look like it's watered down. Like, oh, the real Messiah is just another sun deity. That's the point. That's the point of all of these false gods. If they are allowed, the only reason they're allowed to be here is to have you go astray, if you choose to go astray. The only way to differentiate the true light and the false light is keeping the commandments, which we're about to get into, but you already know that, right? John 8:12, then spoke Yahshua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. 1 John, this then is the message which we have heard of him and declare unto you, that Elohim is light, and in him is no darkness at all. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, we lie and do not the truth. But if we walk in the light, as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, in the blood of Messiah, his son, cleanses us from all sin. This is who they're trying to be. This is the true light. And Albert Pike, speaking of the false light here, strange and mysterious name to give to the spirit of darkness. Look at that, spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of morning. Is it he who bears the light, and with the splendors intolerable blinds feebly? Sensual, oh my goodness. Sensual or selfish souls? Doubt it not. So what he's implying, which we're going to get into in a little bit, is that Lucifer is not the one. He's saying Lucifer is not the one blinding us from knowledge and liberty. This is a false way of thinking of the light, because Torah is the truth and light. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law or instructions is Torah in Hebrew, is the truth. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law, Torah, is light, and reproofs of instructions are the way of life. John 4:24, Elohim is a spirit, a ruach, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. So if you're not worshiping him in truth, which is by his instructions, then it's vanity. It's idolatry. You're worshiping angels, most likely. 2 Thessalonians 2, with all deceivableness and of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And that truth, once again, is his Torah and Messiah. So the false light impersonating true light. This is the following verses after the morning star, Lucifer. Lucifer's verse 12. So this is the following ones of talking about Lucifer in Isaiah 14. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. And I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. And I will ascend above the heights of the clouds and will be like the Most High. So the false light impersonating the true light. This is a summary of who Messiah is. He's jelly of this. Let's read who Messiah is. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with the Most High, and the Word was an eternal being. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So Messiah is a creator because he has been chosen by the Father, which is the sole creator, to do his will. In him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Read that last verse again. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Wow. Colossians 1. Who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature, the firstborn, the true light. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. So Messiah, the true light, was the firstborn of all creatures, the first creation of the sole creator, the Father. And then he does the will of the Father, and all things was made by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. In Hebrews 1:4-6, being made so much better than the angels. Oh, somebody's jelly. As he has by inheritance obtained a more excellent name than they. So Messiah is the only angel that has received this excellent name to become a creator. For unto which of the angels said he at any time, thou art my son, this day I have begotten thee. He's the only one, only son of God, an angel that has been begotten. And again, I will be him a father, and he shall be to me a son. And again, when he bringeth in the first begotten into the world, he says, and let all the angels of Elohim worship him. So yeah, I can see if you're not able to create, and you just gotta humble yourself because you're not Messiah. I mean, I guess I can see those words. I mean, he wants to exalt himself, be above the stars, be like the Most High. This is what it means to be the false light. This is what he's impersonating.
Yes, Lucifer is God. And unfortunately, Adonai, the Hebrew God of the Bible, is also God. And the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil.
Adonai, meaning the creator, Haya, is the God of darkness and evil. We have to understand that Satan is a title. Satan is another title that means adversary. So in the story of the religion of Luciferians, Lucifer, Apollo, is the true light. He gives wisdom. He gives liberty. Let me read it. Well, we have another famous Order of Eastern Star Masonic person here. Thus, Lucifer, the spirit of intellectual enlightenment and freedom of thought, is metaphorically the guiding beacon which helps man to find his way through the rocks and sandbanks of life. For Lucifer is the logos, that means word, in his highest. So they straight up just pull from the Bible, and they declare their religion is the exact opposite of what we believe, the exact opposite. Luciferianism is a belief system that venerates the essential characteristics that affix to Lucifer, a light bearer. The name, let me just jump down. So it's connected to the planet Venus. We'll touch on in a little bit later. And Lucifer, not as the devil. They don't believe Lucifer is the devil. They believe the God of the Bible, the God of the Israelites is the devil, as Albert Pike is quoted in this video. But he is a liberator, a guardian, a light bringer that opposes Haya, that the true Elohim of Israel. For Luciferians, enlightenment is the ultimate goal. The basic Luciferian principles highlight the truth and freedom of will, worshiping the inner self and one's ultimate potential, and to encourage and celebrate the same within all. So that's, I mean, we see this in New Age, like running prominent right now. Look within yourself. They do that. You're manifesting. You are a God. You have the power to bring light into the world, but this is a false light. Because in this religion, Lucifer is here to free your mind from the bondage of the Most High's ways, offering knowledge and reason to embrace the nature of who you are. The Satan, which means adversary in their story, is the Most High. To them, he represents control and selfishness that wants to keep the world in darkness, hidden from the light of liberty, as we seen in the garden. And this is Aleister Crowley. Do what thou wilt is to bid the stars to shine, vines to bear grapes, water to seek its level. Man is the only being in nature that has striven to set himself at odds with himself. This is the entire point. I'm so glad I found this quote. This is, in a nutshell, what Luciferian is. Duality, be one with nature. This is why you see male and female being blended in. Everything is about doing what feels good, and just like how animals can procreate in incest and I mean, don't have laws in order. This is how they see it. We should be like the animals. We should just do whatever we feel like is good, what is instinctive to us. But that's the opposite. We've been put in this world as a light, as a spirit, in a world that is surrounded by the flesh. And he has put it on us to be tested, to see if we will tap into our light to shine out of this darkness, not to become one with the darkness that we have already been put in. This is too easy to do. This is not why we're here. But when you see the Torah of righteousness as slavery, as being put in chains per se, then you will lead yourself down a path of Luciferian New Age practices. The entire point of everything that we do in this life is to become set apart from the world that we're in, because this world is only built here to test us, not for us to thrive in it.
Crowley's main goal of practicing Western magic was to advance humanity by contact with higher intelligence, either by calling them down or by traveling to their planet. Crowley believed contact with these higher intelligences was attainable by becoming one with them, that is, by metamorphing into man-gods or superman. This goal was attainable through the ancient systems of Hebrew and Babylonian Kabbalah and other forms of metaphysical science. The Kabbalah is a collection of Jewish magical texts that were given to mankind via psychic communion with a fallen angel called Raziel, keeper of the secrets. Raziel is one of the fallen angels that serve the light bringer Lucifer. The Kabbalah gives Kabbalists a roadmap called the Tree of Life, which explains how to invoke and communicate with a pantheon of powerful spirits. The magical information in the Kabbalah originates from Babylon and ancient Egypt.
So we see Aleister Crowley worships the sun deity Lucifer. And Lucifer, like I said, can be a name for any sun deity. It's just is a name for a sun deity that brings enlightenment.
Cool.
And this lie, we saw Aleister Crowley say in there, like, we become Superman, like demigods or something like that, right? This is the first lie of the Bible, right? Because the only thing that a light bearer can offer that the Most High chooses not to is forbidden knowledge. And that's exactly what he does in the garden. Genesis 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Most High had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, has Elohim said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die, for Elohim does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. See, it doesn't say you will be gods. It just says you will be as gods, knowing what they know, good and evil. And we know that's the point, though, is that the knowledge they give you is only half truths. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desired to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So we see the connection, the spiritual meaning of having an apron on, like we see. What are the odds that the main clothing attire a Mason wears is an apron, which means like they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil that would make one wise. That's what this is a symbol of. Then we have the eye, which is enlightenment of a pineal glands / third eye, or it can even mean the eye of a man's private parts, but that's a whole nother study. And the square compass is a representation of the star of Remphan in or creation itself. And lies in disguise all have truths. So many, I see so many, like when I come across occult videos or whatever about this first sin in the garden that says, you will not surely die if you eat of the fruit, and they go, oh, and Adam didn't die. Well, come on, guys, let's put it in context. This is the difference between reading scripture and understanding it. And Adam, lacked 70 years of 1,000 years, for 1,000 years are as one day in the testimony of the heavens, and therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, on the day that ye eat thereof, ye shall die. For this reason, he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. So he didn't complete one day. He did die that same day, according to heaven, in a precept right here, 2 Peter 3:8, 1,000 years as one day. And Adam did not live to 1,000 years. He died during it. So he did die that day. And there's a reason why the Bible's written in code. Messiah himself says, I speak in parables because the the wisdom of the kingdom is not for everyone. It's people are supposed to use the Bible and pervert it and use it wrongly. But it's important for us that is striving for righteousness to understand. And so we don't fall for goofy little lies like this one. False light perversion. They know scripture. Do they understand it? No, but do they know scripture? Sure. Another Masonic slogan, out of chaos comes order, or order out of chaos. This is right in the first few verses of the Bible, in plain sight, family. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. If you look into the Strong's for this word right here, it could mean chaos, which is why in this translation, it's translated as chaos. So let's stay with that. Now the earth was chaos and waste, and darkness was on the face of the deep, or surface of the deep, in the translation. And the Ruach was hovering upon the surface of the water. Then the Most High said, let there be light, and there was light. Did y'all catch it? There was chaos. And then what brought order to chaos? Light, which we know as Messiah and Torah. But to Luciferians, it's liberty and enlightenment. Out of chaos comes order, which is light. In plain sight, they just keep doing it. They just keep doing it. This is what it looks like to be a poser of the true light. And just showing you this because your everyday man may look like a good guy, but that's why it's important to know thy enemy. 2 Corinthians 11, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Because these Masons sound like decent guys if you don't read your Bible, holding on to faith, hope, and charity, the three graces, which is, this is actually another, the three graces is another occult gods, like pagan gods, by the way. But this is straight from the Bible. 1 Corinthians 13:13. I don't think that's a coincidence. That's a very occult number. Now abideth faith, hope, and charity. These three, but the greatest of these is charity. So let me give an example of how, like, they're posers. They're not true light bearers. They're false light bearers. The greatest of these is charity. So Freemasons is known for giving charity. Well, do you know that there are the Masonic order of the higher powers? We're not talking about your little like unknowing Masons that are like entry level. We're talking about higher ups. They are the ones constructing this government to put GMOs in our food and to push pharmakia, witchcraft, and medicine on us, which gives us cancer and diseases. And then the same organization will do a cancer charity and raise money for cancer, and people will be like, oh, this is a good organization, not knowing that the organization itself is causing the cancer that is claiming is helping to build profits, fundraiser money for. They're not trying to help you with cancer. They're just posers. This is how false light works. This is what Luciferians are. Especially, this is mostly talking about those that know they are and know what they're doing. They know they're trying to suppress others. Not really, like I said, the ones that are low ranking that are misguided. Just like this guy, good gracious. I wanted to put him in here because I feel like he's going to play a part in these end times. This is a political false light leader. And just like everything else, there's a reason why they have to show their owner. It's for us. They have to show us what they're going to do. They have to expose themselves because that's how this realm works. And Mega, as we see in the Magician card, which is a light bearer, is the first trump by no coincidence. And Megas is a priesthood of Satanism, as we see here. All of this stuff is connected because it's supposed to be connected, so we can have a way to push ourselves away from people like this. They have to show their owners. And then when they do so, if you have eyes to see, ears to hear, you know what to do once you have seen who they truly are. But there is false light. The point of showing this as well is I want to show a man in modern day time as a leader that is a false light leader, not just your under the curtain Freemasons. This is a person in the light on the stage that is a false light politician. Oh, wow, his campaign is Save America Again, huh? Well, that sounds like he's lining up with Apollo's mission.
We are your instrument of those sevenfold rays and all your archangels, all of them.
I am here, O God, and I am the instrument of those sevenfold rays and archangels.
We will not retreat. We will not retreat. We will stand our ground.
And I will not retreat. I will take my stand.
We will not fear to speak. We will be the instrument of your will, whatever it is.
I will not fear to speak, and I will be the instrument of God's will, whatever it is.
In your name and the name of your legions.
Here I am, so help me God, in the name of Archangel Michael and his legions.
We are freeborn, and we shall remain freeborn.
I am freeborn, and I shall remain freeborn.
And we shall not be enslaved by any foe, within or without.
And I shall not be enslaved by any foe within or without.
So we see how easy it is if you follow the wrong people. This is General Michael Flynn. He's a part of Trump supporter QAnon movement. And when you are following the wrong people, this is obviously New Age Legion angel worship right here. This is Apollo. This is the point of me showing you this. This is how Apollo, the light bearer of America, well, and the world, this is how he works. We don't see him. This is how he is seen.
We are your instrument.
So let's now get back to the title Light Bearer Lucifer and start pushing towards Apollo now. So Corinthians, no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. And for us in the latter days, his name goes by Apollo, just because that's the way it is. The Bible said it, and we're going to see that he is everywhere. I don't know why out of all the sun deities it's him, but that is who it is. So that is what we're rolling with. Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven? I highlight fallen because this is a common theme throughout scripture of Lucifers, light bearers, fallen angels. We're going to see that this story, it doesn't change. Lucifer, son of the morning. We're going to go over this son of the morning because everybody butchers it with cults or people that's uninformed or unknowledgeable. They say that sounds like Messiah in Revelation. We're going to get to that. How art thou cut down to the ground? Once again, fallen, which didst weaketh the nations. Let's break it down now. How art thou fallen from heaven? Proverbs 16. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Well, let's hear the falls. Listen to all these falls. Luke 10:18, and he said unto them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Enoch 44, also another phenomenon I saw in regard to the lightnings, how some of the stars arise and become lightnings and cannot part with their new form. Revelation 12:7, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And this is 100% Apollo right here, y'all. We'll get to that in a later minute. In Enoch 88, and I saw one of those four who had come forth first, and he seized the first star which had fallen from the heaven, and bound it hand and foot, and cast it into an abyss. Now that abyss was narrow and deep and horrible and dark. So just showing that a lot of people believe that he has already fallen from heaven, but this is prophetic, guys. I don't know if y'all realize that. There is, first and foremost, there is different levels of heaven. So you can fall from the high heaven to a lower heaven, but he is prince of the air. During the earthly realm, he is prince of the air, meaning he's not fallen yet. When does he actually fall? Revelation 9, the fifth trumpet. I saw a star fall from heaven unto earth. So he is Apollo, the sun deity, is still calling the shots, but his campaign is not in full effect until he arrives in the time of the trumpets. Now, son of the morning, just want to clarify this, that morning stars, let's get into it. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So clearly, according to Job 38, morning stars are the sons of God, which are angels. So this is not, when they say son of the morning or morning star, that's not just talking about one, like Lucifer, one deity or one angel. No, this is actually all angels. All angels can be referred to as stars, or in this case, morning stars. And I'd say all this just to remedy the Revelation 22:16. I, Messiah, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star, the bright and morning star. So he's saying that he is the angel, the Son of God above all others, which we already have confirmed and testified with other scripture, especially the scripture from Hebrews. And so we see light bearers everywhere. We have the Pope. We have this, look at this, we even have the sun disk behind him. This is, like I said, a sun deity. We see it in movies, the light bearer, statues, ancient times. They've always been different light bearers, and it can be man, it could be a image of a statue, it could be a logo, it could be so many different things. And we have to come to an understanding so we don't fall for the mistake of accidentally doing something that would be an abomination to the Most High. And if you want more insight before I move into Apollo himself about the structure of Messiah and the angels, if this is new to you, watch my YouTube video, Ye Are Gods, okay? I know that could be a lot. This study's already long enough. We don't have time to go any more depths in that. So now, here we are at Apollo, now that we have a foundation of understanding. Apollo in the Bible, and this is why I said he is mentioned by name in 9:11 of the book of Revelation. And they had a king over them. See, their king. He is the ruler. He's the person we need to worry about and have insight on in these latter days. which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon, or obviously Apollo. Proverbs 27:20, Sheol and Abaddon, or Apollo, are never satisfied, and never satisfied are the eyes of man. And Abaddon is actually mentioned, I think, another 2 or 3 times in scripture. He is also referred to as a destroying angel, as we see here. And if you just do a word search of destroying angels or something like that, there are destroying angels all throughout the Bible. Destroying angels are the fallen angels that has been given permission to bring death. Like destroying angels is mentioned in Numbers with the staff of Asclepius. The video I did, the brass serpent, is mentioned in the book of Exodus when the angel of death comes. That's a destroying angel, and Apollo is amongst them. He is obviously one of the head deities. And, this is Greek, right? Alpha and Omega, Greek. Apollo is a Greek sun deity, and they have Alpha and Omega, meaning the beginning and the end. But when you even go to the alphabet of Greek mythology, the Greek alphabet matches Greek mythology, because the Alpha represents the sunrise, how it comes to a point, narrows down, and the Omega simulates a sunset. Can't even make this up. So it's like Apollo is honestly, literally the letters of Greek alphabet matches up with this deity of it being the son of the first and the last. And we see it with the Ankh. There's a lot of just sun worshiping items, artifacts, practices. It's just unlimited supply. I had to trim so much off from this video, but it's just a lot. And then we even see, this is like an illustration of a Babylonian Nimrod, sun deity, with on a horse with a bow. And then we see right here Apollo on the chariot of the sun. And what do you know? This is scripture as well in Enoch 72. Name the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of heaven. And he is quite filled with illuminating in the heating fire. In the chariot, talking about the sun, on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east. And so yes, the sun is given the illustration, at least in scripture, that he rides a chariot. And of course, this is what is illustrated with Apollo, which is supposed to be the sun. You see the sun disk, the huge sun disk behind him? So let's connect all the dots now with the infamous number 8 and or infinity symbol. So let's get right into it with their king of the bottomless pit. In the Greek tongue is Apollyon, aka Apollo. Let's pause for a second and realize how rare it is for the Bible to give us a name of a fallen angel. Maybe because he wants us to have eyes to see the symbolism of this deity. We see one of Apollo's symbol is a wreath, which can also be referred to as a crown. In terms, it will show ownership of who he is king of. We have his crown over the United Nations. We also see that he is a deity of healing, which makes sense because his crown and serpent is over the World Health Organization. He is also a god for music. That doesn't make sense. We also see archery, which puts the rider of the white horse in Revelation chapter 6 in perspective, because he wore a crown and he had a bow. This is the first seal, and this is Apollo. And let's not forget that he is a sun deity of a false light, which is shown to us in plain sight. Another deception. They have made a world that revolves around him. Sun worship. Now referring back to the number 8, let's go to the Pope, the leader of the sun worshipers. Did you know that the current Pope Francis is the 8th Pope since the Vatican became its own sovereign state? Which will now lead us to his shield. Let's check out the symbolism. We have the pine cone, which is a symbol of false knowledge. We have an 8-pointed star, which is their representation of the morning star, which in this case is letting us know that he is a false light, son of God, which many call Lucifer, but Lucifer is just a title of a false light angel. And last but not least, this is the first Jesuit Pope. And when you look into the Jesuits, they usually have a hollowed out sun. We take the sun and the moon, figure 8s, and we make a total solar eclipse. Can you see it now? Going back to Revelation 6, let's remember he's the rider of the white horse. And by no coincidence, one of the symbols the Jesuits use is Pegasus, the white horse. What we are seeing is the world that worship him is throwing a rally for their god Apollo, which is the 8th. All right, so that I just wanted to throw that in because I had a nice summary, puzzle piecing a bunch of stuff together, and I'm gonna throw now going more into the solar eclipse is the true symbol of their sun deity, because they don't give true light. They give a false light, a dark light. Remember, Albert Pike himself said the spirit of darkness is Lucifer. Let's get more into the figure 8s and what it means for Apollo, especially based off of Revelation 17:11. Because when you take the yearly analemma of the sun and you add the monthly analemma of the moon, it will give you 2 figure 8s overlapping, which will give us 88, which is the message, which is also written in scripture as the sun that became black as sackcloth. The black sun represents the solar eclipse, which is sin. And we saw right at the bottom there, Enoch 41:6, the course of the moon's path to the righteous is light, but to sinners it is darkness. And we see that he is the 8th, which is why we're seeing all these 8s. And if you haven't seen all these 8s, I mean, look at there's a lot of businesses that's changing their logos to have 8. Like for the one of the most straightforward one is Facebook. To the metaverse, they got you a figure 8, and just keep your eyes open. And it's imitating creation. Like I said, the path of the sun, he is a sun deity, right? But there is a relationship with the moon that we'll get even more into later. But the sun and the moon together is a solar eclipse, and both of them is figure 8s. And then we also see Trump here gives you a gematria, a numerology of 88. This guy, you gotta watch out for this guy. So we have the figure 8s matching up with all the 8s. We have the that is a sun deity, which all makes sense why it's being pulled. But do you see that a solar eclipse is the all-seeing eye of the heavens? Do you understand that? Do you remember with Hitler, what was the perfect race? Blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Well, you know what is Lucifer been illustrated as? Pretty much a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. And I bring that up because what color is the sky? Blue. So if his eye is the eye of the heavens, that is a solar eclipse, then he would have blue eyes because the sky is blue and his pupil is black, obviously, something like that, right? This is, there's a lot of different ways for him to portray himself. And this is how he portrays himself in the heavens, of the signs that he chooses to take ownership for, because I showed you in Enoch, this is a sign of not something good. Solar eclipse is not a good sign, I would say. When the sun, it takes away the light of the sun and makes it dark from the darkness of the moon, which represents sin. What other message would that be portraying? And Horus is the equivalent in Egyptian mythology as Apollo, and he's always associated with in the eye of enlightenment, and he has both eyes representing the sun and the moon, because like I said, there's a relationship there. But we know the all-seeing eye is associated with it through and through. And then we see one of the signs with the solar eclipse of Revelation chapter 6, verse 2, of the white horse rider that I explained in that video. So this is just a visual of it that I truly believe that it has already happened in December 26th of 2019, with Saturn inside of the white horse rider of the heavens, with Jupiter representing kingship. He wore a crown. It has a bow. And even Mercury, the bow can represent toxin, which is right where Mercury is on. And then right at the head is a solar eclipse crowning. I mean, it's all there. The New World Order is already here, though. And I really mean it. Yes, it's going to get worse, but I'm saying the New World Order is here in the sense of his religion is already here and in full bloom. First Maccabees, we see the foreshadowing of this. From them came forth a sinful root, Antiochus Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. He had been a hostage in Rome. He began to reign in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the closest story to what it would look like in the New World Order is not only associated with the Greek deity Apollo, but also to a Greek king. In those days, lawless men came forth from Israel and misled many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the Gentiles around about us. For since we separated from them, many evils have come upon us." This proposal pleased them, and some of the people eagerly went to the king. He authorized them to observe the ordinance of the Gentiles. Exact opposite. This is the ordinance of the Gentiles is exactly what we've been talking about, following the true light or the false light, right? All these other nations are already worshiping false lights. So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem. A gymnasium. What country on earth has the most gymnasiums, the most prominent in sports, multiple sports? There's something about this place that we're in, y'all. That's all I'm going to say. It's built different. It's built almost like if Hasatan could build a kingdom, it would look like America. According to the Gentile custom, it removed the marks of circumcision and abandoned the Holy Covenant. They joined with the Gentiles and sold themselves to do evil. Now in verse 34, same chapter, and they stationed their sinful people, lawless men. These strengthened their position. They stored up arms and food, and collecting the spoils of Jerusalem, they stored them there. It became a great snare. It became an ambush against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary of Israel continually on every side of the sanctuary. They shed innocent blood. They even defiled the sanctuary. Because of them, the residents of Jerusalem fled. She became a dwelling of strangers. I mean, like now, she became strange to her offspring, and her children forsook her. Her sanctuary became desolate as a desert. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into a reproach, her honor into contempt. Her dishonor now grew as great as her glory. Her exaltation was turned into mourning. Then the king wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people and that each should give up his customs. If y'all go and Google top holidays in the world, 5 or 6 of them comes from America. It's like America has pushed its wheel upon the world. All the Gentiles accepted the command of the king. Many, even of Israel, gladly adopted his religion. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. This sounds just like the New World Order. It's just nowadays people may not realize what they're doing, but they're doing the same exact thing as written here.
The Olympic flame isn't just any old flame, given the symbolism and importance it holds. Because of that, though, it can't be lit by just any common lighter or match. There's actually a whole ceremony for it that takes place in Olympia, Greece, one that makes use of some pretty cool science dating from antiquity. Basically, parabolic mirrors are the name of the game. According to Smithsonian Magazine, parabolic mirrors are rounded dishes that are really good at concentrating light. By standing it out in the sun, it reflects the rays of light into one particular spot. In perfect ideal conditions, that one little area could theoretically reach something close to 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, it's no real problem to light a flame just by concentrating rays of light. And it's not quite so effective in reality, but it generally gets the job done. This technique isn't a new thing, though. It's been around since ancient Greece. Archimedes supposedly made use of the method against a fleet of ships and provides a fire lit purely by the power of the sun.
Wow. So it says the Greeks told the Israelites in Jerusalem to make gymnasiums and have events, right? Like the Colosseum, like the Olympics. The Olympics uses the sun to light the top torch. And then, like he said, they have a ritual. I watched this video. It's a full-blown ritual to the sun god Apollo. Can't make this stuff up. So the whole Olympic Games is worshiping Apollo. The entire origin of it is the practice. We just read it in First Maccabees. They made these gymnasiums and they did events. And at the beginning, in the exit of these events, they have rituals. You see that they use the power of the sun to light the torch. In Greece, they have this whole real weird light bearer ritual with nothing but women. This is what I'm saying. We're already here, y'all. This is already happening. We're already in a world that is worshiping Apollo and nobody knows it. Like I said in the video earlier, the TikTok video, from the music, the Apollo, not at the Apollo or whatnot, music to medicine to gymnasiums, coliseums, they all already worshiping Apollo. Do you see it? That's the point of it. Separate yourself from stuff like this. Statue of Liberty. Do you know the Statue of Liberty name is Liberty Enlightening the World? That's the actual real name of Lady Liberty. Liberty Enlightening the World. That just sounds like a Masonic statue because it is. And this statue is Lucifer, which is Apollo. I'm telling you right now. This is Apollo. Apollo is what he's telling everybody to be right now. You know, the alphabet community, how man, woman, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be both, non-binary. This is what this is. This deity, these are both, this is a painting of Lucifer. This is a statue of Lucifer. This is the same person, y'all. America is what their God is. This is Lucifer as a transvestite. Yes, it does look like also a false image of Jesus as well, I agree. But this is the same deity. This is the light bearer, Lucifer, Apollo. And we have, of course, the foundation of the Statue of Liberty was designed by a Freemason. The idea from Ed here is a Freemason French politician. He's the person that thought of the idea. He's a Freemason. This was following the Revolutionary War. It was gifted from the French. We'll get into more details to go because there's actually a lot on the Statue of Liberty and why I already have put it out there that I believe we're in the ancient land. And there's a reason why America is being picked on, because America holds the iniquity of all the ancient people that deserves to be punished that's already here upon North America. And we see the statue is copper. We're going to get into the details right here. This is just the plaque of the Statue of Liberty at the site to show you that everything is Masonic. Everything's a light worker. This is all about their light deity that they've been waiting for. This is what the Statue of Liberty is about. This is why it's I'm going to spend time on it because it's that big of a deal. I don't think y'all understand how big of a deal of what the symbol of the Statue of Liberty means and what it portrays to America. Y'all gonna find out right now. Well, first and foremost, we see, just like in Luciferianism, as Aleister Crowley said, they are one with nature. You know, duality, be one with nature, do what thou wilt, whatever feels right. And so they will build the statue in the geometry of nature, right? Revelation 9, 1 and 2 and 11. And I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. So Lucifer, remember, Lucifer is a fallen star. That's what Lucifer is. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Now verse 11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, Apollo. All right, so Lucifer has been bound, and he was in chains. So we saw the statue earlier. This statue has Lucifer in chains. But Lady Liberty is broken her chains. So Lucifer is bound, but Lady Liberty isn't. And of course they say it's Liberty of America, right? Revolutionary War. But no, this is Apollo. This is Lucifer. This is during the time the chains being broken symbolizes the small window of his reign where he will be king and he will let out his minions upon man. And it's going to be right here in America where his chains are broken on Lady Liberty. And then, you know, we see that they all look really manly faces, right? Like I said, this is a man. This is not a woman. If you want to, it's a transvestite, like I said, I mean, it's a drag queen, whatever title you want to give it. Copper, let's break down this Statue of Liberty. It used to look like this. Did you know that? Shining in the sun, right? It was copper, but if you ever found an old penny, a penny that is made out of copper can have some residue, it can turn like green, right? Well, that's just based off of it being weathered and what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, just leave it at that. The weather condensation makes it turn green, right? So it is copper. Let's look up the meaning of copper in scripture. Copper is one of the symbols, along with gold and silver, as a true understanding of fulfillment of the commandments. But there is a negative, and this is obviously negative. Copper is one of the symbols of the various components of the sinful system of life of nations, its political, economic formations under which sinfully living nations have been ruled throughout history. Copper is a symbol of man's stubbornness in the rejection of the will of Elohim and his expression of pride and extreme immorally, I don't know, I'm tripping on that, but y'all get me. But so yes, this is why it's made out of copper. And I did a study called A Hidden Prophecy of the Staff of Asclepius, and it says that Moses made a serpent of brass. What if I told you that it's a serpent of copper? OMG. OMG, guys. The staff that was put up in the wilderness in the book of Numbers that represents sin is made of copper, just like the Statue of Liberty. Can't even make this stuff up. Let's continue though. Oh yeah, so I just wanted to touch that. The serpent over the entire earth is made out of brass. I mean, copper, not brass, copper, which signifies a nation of sin. And then we have the base of the Statue of Liberty here. It is a 11-pointed star. 11-pointed star. It represents whatever, how we want to pronounce this. So let's stop here and look what this word means. This is Kabbalah origin, and it representation of evil or impure spiritual forces in Jewish mysticism. Wow, that's what that word is associated with. And that makes sense because it's backdoored with the tree of knowledge. So the 11, here goes another one. I was talking about the relation with the moon, the 88. It's because Apollo is associated with a twin. 11 is a twin number, twin gods. We'll see later that Apollo is associated with his twin sister, Artemis. Number 11 is a twin number because he's a twin god. And then we keep going. We see the 11-pointed star is associated with Esau. If you go to Genesis 36, the name Edom occurs 11 times, and there is 11 dukes in the final list from verse 40 to 43. The 11-pointed star is used to represent Edom. And we know that he hated Edom. And for Esau is the end of the world, and Yaakov is the beginning of the next, the one that follows. That's what all of this represents. It represents Edom. Edom is in control. Edom is in control right now. It is part of prophecy for Edom to be in control when Jacob has fallen into transgression. And it represents evil and impure, tree of knowledge in a twin god, all in one. And there's more to build on this. Let's continue. Speaking of Revelation 9:11, think about it, y'all. Apollo is on his name. The verse that mentions Apollo is verse 9:11. where Apollo sits right in between the twin towers. What did I just say? 11 is a twin number. What do these even look like? The number 11, and one is masculine with the obsculus at the top of one, and one is feminine, male, female. And the same architect that built the Twin Towers built the Century Plaza Towers, and they're two 44-story buildings, giving you 88 that has the Eye of Horus, which is a representation of modern-day Apollo, the all-seeing eye. And then we see Artemis, her twin brother is the god Apollo. And then now we have two black cubes in the place of those twin towers, all tribute to Apollo. And I believe, if you ask me, I believe this is the bottomless pit. I don't think there's a coincidence at all that there is a twin cube, black cube in the middle of the city where they put the monument that represents the sun deity Apollo. Speaking of Artemis, you know that they have new moon missions right now. And look what the moon missions look like. The figure 8. They're now going back to the moon, and the moon missions is named after the deity that is a feminine moon deity, Artemis. This is, they're planning on, they have it going back to the moon in 2025. I think that's kind of funny. Y'all know when I prophetically think the world's going to be at an end, and they have us going back to the moon, landing on the moon in 2025. I think that timing is impeccable, impeccable. But here's another figure 8. So why does Lady Liberty have 7 spikes on her head? We see that all these sun deities doesn't necessarily mean they have 7 spikes, because these spikes represents rays of light. But on Apollo, or I should say Lady Liberty, she has 7 points because it represents the 7 rays of light. Or they also say the 7 seas and continents, because it's embodying the whole world, how she's enlightening the entire world, which is also the 7 colors of the rainbow, which is also a false enlightenment, such as the 7 chakras. And guess what? This is also impersonating. Look at where the 7 lights are. It's on the head of Lady Liberty, right? Or the 7 spikes that represents the 7 rays of light, such as the rainbow. And when Messiah comes back, what is he going to have on his head? And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. Look at this. This is what I'm saying. Understand, they're impersonating Messiah hardcore to the best of their abilities. And then we have the crown has 25 windows. Do you remember at the beginning of this study when we were looking at the sun worshipers, that in Ezekiel 8:16, there was 5 and 20 men worshiping the sun? Wow, I don't think there's a coincidence at all that there's also 25 windows representing one of 25 gemstones. And that sounds like Ezekiel 28, that is talking about Lucifer. Because Lucifer was made out of, illustrated with precious stones covering him in this chapter. Moreover, the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up lamentations upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus says the Most High, thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of Elohim. Every precious stone was thy covering. And then it mentions a You are the stones. The workmanship of the tabrets of thy pipes were prepared in the day that thou was created. Thou art the anointed cherubim that covereth, and I have set thee. So thou was upon the holy mountain of Elohim. Thou hast walked up and down the midst of the stones of fire. Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created, till iniquity was found in thee. And that's what this represents. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore, I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of Elohim, and I will destroy thee. O covering cherubim from the midst of the stones of fire, thy heart was lifted up because of thy beauty, and thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness, and I will cast thee to the ground. There we go again. A Lucifer. This is what I was saying. This is the Lucifer statement. Beauty, wisdom, brightness, cast to the ground. You see what? That's why I show that. It's repeated all throughout Scripture. I will lay thee before kings that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy iniquities, by the iniquities of thy tariff. Therefore, I will bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shall thou be anymore. I don't know about y'all. This sounds exactly like the whore in the book of Revelation. Sounds just like her. They shall be in terror, and there will be no more. This sounds like Mystery Babylon. Listen up.
See, in Zechariah gives us the vision of a woman in a basket with a lid made of lead. I was not able to interpret this vision until I watched a video on YouTube about the making of the Statue of Liberty. I saw all the elements of this vision presented in connection with the Statue of Liberty. In Zechariah 5, we have a woman, a basket, and a metal covering. The Statue of Liberty is of a woman with metal on the outside, but is like a basket on the inside. Notice the strips of metal that are woven much like a basket. They hold the copper plates together that make up the statue.
All right. And we see in Zechariah, I agree with this. I believe the Statue of Liberty is in Bible prophecy in the book of Zechariah. This is the basket. This is going out. Let me start from the beginning. Zechariah 5. Then the angel who talked with me came forward and said to me, lift your eyes and see what this is that is going out. And I said, what is it? He said, this is the basket that is going out. And he said, this is their iniquity in all the land. What does this represent? And it's made out of something that looks like a basket with something that is a cover that looks like lead, but it's actually copper, but it's covered by lead. And behold, the leaden cover was lifted, and there was a woman sitting in the basket. And he said, this is wickedness. And he thrust her back into the basket and thrust down the leaden weight on its openings. See, on its opening, it's covering up the openings. And then I lifted my eyes and saw, behold, two women coming forward. This is America and France, who delivered Lady Liberty. The wind was in their wings. They had wings like the wings of a stork, and they lifted up the basket between the earth and heaven. The wings, the bird for America is an eagle. At least they say. Some people say it's a phoenix and not an eagle, but it's a bird either way. The animal that represents France is a rooster. is a bird as well. So the two women that are associated, the two nations, America and France, both are represented by winged animals for their country. And the basket between earth and heaven is a statue between earth and heaven. What's in between earth and heaven? A tall statue. Oh yeah, for some reason, I'm just not realizing it cut off the last, I don't know why I didn't put the last two verses, because it's important. The last two verses here reads, so the end of Zechariah 5, verse 10 and 11. So after the basket between earth and heaven, then said I to the angel that talked with me, whither do these bear? Well, let me just read verse 11, excuse me, verse 11. And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar, and it shall be established and set there upon her own base. Wow. Wow. I'm going to read that one more time since I don't have it here accidentally. And he said unto me, to build it an house in the land of Shinar. That's Babylon. We're going to get to that. I believe this is in Babylon. Way too many variables in this prophecy adding up for me. And it shall be established and set there upon her own base. Do you know that this base was made here in America, but she was made elsewhere? So this prophecy, I mean, is when you look into it, I mean, it matches very well. The base was made here. And the Lady Liberty wasn't just made on the ground, it was actually made on a base, just like in Zechariah 5:11. And she was made elsewhere. Two women coming forward. And it's just, I mean, man. So this is wickedness. This is a prophecy of wickedness that represents Apollo. So we see Isaiah 14, this is the chapter where you get the infamous Lucifer from. And Lucifer that is being spoken to as an example is the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, in this chapter. Proverb against the king of Babylon. And say, how has the oppressor ceased, the goated city ceased? Then later in verse 12, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? I don't think it's a coincidence that Lucifer the fall of the angel is in comparison to Babylon, when you go all the way, knowing that everything's connected to the book of Revelation, how the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Why did they build a Statue of Liberty in the middle of water? Good gracious. Why is the great whore, the statue of wickedness, sitting in the middle of waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication? America is the centerpiece to all fornication in the earth. It is, I mean, that's why everyone has been using a dollar bill and etc. America has been ruling the world in the time of Apollo. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, and upon her forehead was written a name, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. It's Mystery Babylon, because we don't know that it's Babylon. And when we go back on First Maccabees, we think about everyone becoming one and doing one as the Gentiles. What do you think the United States is? With the United Nations. And who leads these people in these nations? America. Think about it. What did John look at the great whore confused for multiple levels, because this whore represents all the United States of America, which is Egypt, Israel, Babylon, Assyria. They have become one, and this statue represents the people being united. Come out of her, my people. Liberty in lighting the world. I believe chapter 17 is all about liberty. Lady Liberty is built representing the deity of Apollo to come. Why else would they build it? Why else would they build it the way they built it? I'm going to read it through one quick time and point some stuff out, but Revelation 17, and there came one of the seven angels which had seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. The inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. This is Rome. Vatican has given America its spirituality, has it not? Christianity's origin is Rome, and Rome's origin is Greek, or Greece, I should say, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations, filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And so all of these stones, we read how Lucifer has stones, but all of these stones and linen, dressed in linen, purple and scarlet, this is representing what Lady Liberty has power over. Has power over the nations that is Israel and Babylon, that has been empowered over the earth for a long time. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. And that's how Lady Liberty is drunken with the blood of the saints. Where did the saints die? Jerusalem. They also died there's saints that's died in Jerusalem, Babylon, etc. This covers all of them. Why? Because it's the United States of America. This city represents the entire country, which is the old world. And then John, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Why? And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest, it is not, it shall ascend out the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell, so this is obviously Apollo, if I didn't make that clear, which is represented also by Rome in religion. And they that dwell on earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundations of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Remember what we just read in Ezekiel of the king of Tyrus, how they will wonder and be terrified when she falls. It's the same verbiage. And here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. This is Rome, on which the woman sitteth. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. This is talking about an eternal being. Was and is not. He is the 8th and is of the 7 and goes into perdition. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are people, multitude, and nations, and tongues. Lady Liberty, what do you represent? You sit upon many waters, enlightening the world. The world. That's why the 7 spikes represents the seven waters and the 7 continents. It's enlightening the world because the waters that it sits on is people, multitude, nations, and tongues. So if you didn't see or didn't agree, it is what it is. It adds up to me. We are in the United States, is represented by that great city. And you see 23.4, even on the dollar bill, sun worship, the pyramid is in the angle of sun worship, right? We're still honoring the same deity. Horus, this is Horus. Our dollar bill gives us this, the phoenix, the bird, which is a representation of what was. What did it just say? That was and is not. That was and is not. And then look at this, a statue of Horus. Looks kind of like the Statue of Liberty, like the many other light bearers. Oh, and this just shows you right here, Babylon in this general area of, this is what I believe. I mean, you can still take what you want from it if you don't believe this, but it adds up for me. That's why I said in Zechariah 5:11, it says that this was sent. This was, it even clarifies that this was built, that they built a platform, a base in the land of Shinar, Babylon, for this statue. But then I started looking and I realized that all these deities, from Baal to the Baphomet to false light politician George Washington, to Nimrod, Lucifer, all of them has a same posture. They have a right hand lifted, and you can even see the left foot forward here. Right hand lifted, left foot forward. Right hand lifted, left foot forward. Right hand lifted. Do you see what I see? Very, very interesting. Right arm lifted, left foot forward. So, of course, got to find out where's the origin of this? What's this stance? What's the purpose of this stance? What is this showing us? It's showing us Orion. Everything always comes back to the heavens. This is why it's important to study and to understand the heavens, because he is plagiarizing the light bearer of the heavens. This is the true, I want to start off with the true meaning, and the book reference for all of this, this imagery is from The Witness of the Stars by this author here. But Orion has the right arm lifted, left foot forward. This is the light bearer of the heavens, which is the man of war. Haya is his name. This is the coming Messiah, the coming one. This is what this represents. And Orion anciently was spelled this way, which means light. This constellation always meant light. So the ancient meaning of the constellation of Orion is coming forth as light. And we see that in John 8:12 and Revelation 21:23. And you get that from the ancient meaning of the stars. This star coming quickly, coming of the branch, bruised, foot that crushes, and wounded one, all representations of the coming Messiah. But we know that there is an occult meaning of this, which is the point. I just wanted to start off with the true meaning. But what are they worshiping? This is why you see the pyramids lined up as in Orion's belt, because they're worshiping the sun. They're worshiping the sun through the constellation of Orion, because Orion is a constellation of the sun, of the occult sun deity. Another way to see sun worship in plain sight. These are occult nations. These are pagan nations that are lining up with Orion's belt because they worship Lucifer, or any of your sun deities that you want to say, depending on what nation you're talking to, right? And there's a reason why Orion is the most known constellation in the Bible. It's mentioned 3 times. That's more than any other constellation. And it's because it's the coming Messiah. That's why. It's the most prominent constellation in the heavens, the most obvious once you see it, and even pagans around the world worship it because the meaning behind it is substantial. Even on the Babylonian map that spread out, they lined up these 3 sites, China, Mexico, and Egypt, line up to make Orion's belt. Look at that. Look at that. It's crazy, right? That goes to show you that these nations' deities are connected in ordering the structure of where things are built and how they are built, right? All right. Orion the Hunter, just giving general understanding, not just in, like I said, I gave the scriptural meaning, just now general understanding of Orion. He was a mighty hero in Roman mythology, and he knew it. He would boast of his mighty deeds. This sounds like Lucifer, right? To anyone who cared to listen, and even to those who did not care to listen. Finally, Jove responded by sending a scorpion to kill him. As bold and boastful as he was no match for the sting of the tiny scorpion. And that's also a constellation that this is playing off of. Orion, the mighty hunter, was killed. After his death, he and the scorpion was transferred into the night sky, where Scorpio is the eternal pursuit of Orion. Like I said, that's just talking about a sign. So that's just general goofiness, mythology. Many classical writers alluded to Orion as a calendar sign because it's a very prominent sign. For its morning rising indicates the beginning of summer, and you're going to see how important this is. The beginning of summer is the time frame of Orion for the most part. It is midnight rising marked the season of great gathering. And his evening appearance marked the approach of winter and winter storms. Even Hindu literature made allusions to Orion's desirable influence. Later on, the Jews called Orion Gibor, the giant, considered as Nimrod, the sun deity, bound to the sky for the rebellion against Elohim. And obviously, this is like this is not real Jews. This is a false Jewish practice thing, by the way. You know, synagogue of Satan type stuff right here when they say the Jews. Nimrod is the infamous mighty hunter of the Bible who charged of the building of the Tower of Babel. That's what the pagans honor, and that's why they make monuments after it. Another way to worship their gods.
Belt, Orion's belt.
Even in movies, the galaxy is on Orion's belt. What does that mean? Well, the equinox, the celestial equinox in the heavens, if you would take the heavens and unfold it flat like this, you will have the middle, and right through Orion's belt, you have the heavens. So when it says the galaxy, in that movie, obviously it's on a cat that is named Orion, but you know how Lucifer is. I mean, the devils are in this world. They give you the truth. You just got to understand what he's saying. The heavens, or the galaxy, right, is on Orion's belt. Orion sits in the middle, and his belt holds the middle of the heavens. That's why Orion can be seen for most part of the year until the sun is it's obviously during the day when you can't see it. But regardless of being able to see it or not, Orion goes over our heads every single day of the year. Either day, it may come in at night or during the daytime, but Orion goes over everyone's head every single day because it's on the equator. That's how prominent it is. So canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades and loose the bands, aka belt of Orion? So let's talk about this now. I want to point out the prominence of summer solstice. This is where you get sun worship. You can look it up. Look up sun worship, pagan practices on summer solstice. Good gracious. You'll find a bunch of stuff, like a whole list of it. And this is where the sun is the longest day of the year. So the longest day the sun is in the sky. And it's also at its highest elevation. And on a flat earth map, this is what it looks like. Roughly June 21st or June 20, depending on if it's a leap year, the sun will be at its highest elevation and it will be the longest day of the year. That sounds like a very important day for a sun god, right? And this is just to show. In 2024, which we're going to go into later, it is going to be actually June 20th because it's a leap year. June 20th will be the longest day of the year by just barely a second, but there's at least like 2 to 3 days that is pretty high and the days are pretty long. And we'll see why this is important for sun deity Apollo. Because it goes hand in hand with sun worshipers such as Luciferians. The Royal Arch. The Royal Arch. And right at the top of the Royal Arch, we have a 6-9, which represents Cancer. But did you know that Freemason in numerology or gematria comes to a 96, which is the same thing as, same thing as 69, 96. And we were talking about Artemis is the twin sister of the sun deity Apollo, and Artemis is a moon deity. Well, the timing of summer solstice is in the constellation of Cancer. Are we starting to connect a little bit here? So the constellation where the sun is the most prominent, at least in Babylonian astrology, June 21st is summer solstice, where the moon is also the ruling planet. And then it's the fourth house. Well, look, in Babylonian naming of the Hebrew calendar, Tammuz, a sun deity, is on the 4th month, which usually arrives around summer, June, Cancer, same time frame. All of this stuff's connected, and we already looked into the chariot of the sun. We see that they have the chariot of the sun, also represented by the Cancer sign, 69. And so why is this at the top of their arch? Well, it's representing the chariot, the sun that rides on the chariot during the months of Tammuz. And this is what you got. Think about it. I just showed you the longest day of the year, the sun, the highest in the sky. This is what it will look like. You blew a hole right into Cancer. This is just more sun worship illustration. Everything goes back to the heavens. Everything goes back to sun worship. Good gracious. Now let's go on talk a little bit on the twin. Why is Apollo a twin? 69, it looks a lot like the yin yang, right? Yin yang is the concept that describes opposite but interconnected forces. In Chinese cosmology, the universe creates itself out of primary chaos of material energy. You see that? Organized into cycles of yin and yang, form into objects in lives. Yin is the receptive, yang is the active principle, and it's just the balance. Winter, summer, north faces shade, south faces brightness, male, female, just like the twins, or just like duality. Balance. Why you think the yin and the yang are black and white like the checkerboard floor of Freemasonry? Because it is once again plagiarizing the Bible. Remember, when the Most High made two great lights, the sun and the moon, two great lights, the moon is full. And when the moon is full, it is opposite of the sun. This is what it looked like the day he created the sun and the moon. And it's the yin and the yang is plagiarizing, is exactly the Most High's creation when you put it on a flat earth model. And think about it, the earth is a face, right? As I think it's the book of Job that describes the earth as having a face. In Horus, which is in Egyptian mythology, is the equivalent to Apollo, god of the sky. What is this? The sky. Remember, prince of the air, whose right eye was considered to be the sun, and the left eye, the moon. This is what it is. This is the illustration. And if you actually go look at the hawk of Horus, it has like a teardrop, like a tattoo coloring on its eye, like this. And mentioning the combination, I'm just poking at like just different things. Apollo 11. Why 11? Nothing's a coincidence. 11 is a twin number, and this is the first moon mission because Apollo was going to see his twin, right? The Apollo mission, they're going to the moon, his twin. It was also in 1969. OMG. And then we see that the launch vehicle was named Saturn, which is a representation of Father Time, Chronos. And then look at the moon landing. They launched and they landed July 20th. And so they landed July 20th and walked July 21st, right in the time frame of Cancer. All fits within their occult bubble of idolatry and purpose. All right, this is the last segment here. We're wrapping it up. Signs in the heavens. We have Apollo. So we mentioned the stance of Apollo with the right arm lifted and the left foot forward is where they get the Statue of Liberty. But in the stars, that the stars in the constellation represents light. But did you know that the constellation of Orion actually holds the light just like these light bearers in the Statue of Liberty? Look, this is Apollo on the map. This is the elliptic cycle of the sun. This dotted line here. Do you see that the dotted line goes right at the top, right here at the top of Orion where it meets with Gemini? We also see it here. June 21st, the longest day of the year. Where does the sunlight land? Can't even make it up. The longest day of the year, y'all. Orion holds the sun. This isn't a club. This is a lamp. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Right arm lifted with the lamp, holding the sun during summer solstice. Left foot forward. Lucifer, sun deity. Wow. So I have to say that this wasn't always like this. In other words, let me say this. Every year, no matter what time in history, the sun goes this path and it goes from Taurus and it goes right at the foot of Gemini because it goes through the 12 Mazzaroth, the 12 zodiacs, right? So every year, like 3 days, it goes 1, 2, 3, and then it goes forward on continuing in its course. But only within, I would say, less than 100 years, if you go like on Stellarium and you fast forward to like, let's say the 1800s, on summer solstice, the sun is over here. It starts going further this way. So in other words, y'all, this image of the Statue of Liberty, Lucifer, is the sign of his kingdom, because these latter days is the first time, or let me make this super clear how rare this is. Since the beginning of the creation of the world, the sun didn't start landing on right here at the top of the torch of Orion on summer solstice until within the last 100 years, y'all. Within the last 100 years did the sun start landing here around summer solstice. Before this, the last over 5,900 years or so we've been here, it was never at this time during summer solstice, the longest day of the year. So what I'm saying is, this is a sign in the heavens that Apollo knew was going to occur during his reign, so he marked it throughout history. This is marked throughout history, that his reign on the longest day of the year, that he chose to, like I said, he doesn't own this sign, that he chose to pervert. He will be holding the light during the day that people worship the sun. And continuing now with this relationship with the sun and the moon, did you know we see the moon in 2024, right at the time of summer solstice, is full, like the yin yang sign. So we get the yin yang sign, the 69 during the timing of summer solstice in 2024 with Artemis. Artemis is a female hunter, and the moon is in Artemis, a female hunter with a bow. I'm gonna click play right here. This is a video to show you the full heavens. We have Artemis with the full moon. All the way, we have the sun, and then we have Venus and Mercury all within Gemini. Almost, Mercury means delivering. Venus is right there, and a few days before this, we have a sun and Venus conjunction a few days before this sign, y'all, in 2024. And then we get the 69 yin yang sign of Artemis with the full moon sitting opposite of her twin brother Apollo. With Venus, he's known as the morning star, which is Venus, and Mercury, which means to deliver, in the constellation Gemini, which represents twins. Oh my good gracious. Can't even think about all of how much symbolism's here. And this is 2024. So, like I said, we have the yin yang sign. And Artemis, goddess of hunting, she has a bow. And when the moon is in Sagittarius, it represents Artemis. The moon, archery, all right here, opposite of Lucifer, the light bearer, with Venus, the morning star, inside Gemini, the twin of Artemis, when the sun is highest in the air. I say that's a sign. I will say that's a sign, indeed. And to finish it off, we recap that there was a solar eclipse in December 2019. And just under 6 months later, right around 178 days later, this sign leads to this sign of the light bearer. Whoa. Do y'all remember that comet Neowise? This comet Neowise was right at the head of Orion when there was a solar eclipse at the hand of the false light. So this eclipse, remember, is a representation of false light. And Orion was holding it during the time of summer solstice, 6 months after this sign of the coming white horse rider. Wow. And then Neowise. Everybody knows Neo, the chosen one, right? Neo. Neo, the ship that they were on in the movie Matrix was called Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was the name mentioned with Lucifer. Remember, King of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Isaiah. I'm here to tell you that in the movie Neo, even I'm a fan of the movie The Matrix. I liked it. But I'm here to tell y'all guys, Neo is a representation of a Lucifer. He is a light bearer that the movie is built around a story of a Lucifer. Neo is awakened to free the minds of those that's in captivity, right? And the machines represent the angels of war of the Most High that's keeping us in bondage. And the ship is called Nebuchadnezzar because they are a false light, just like Nebuchadnezzar was used as an example of that false light, Lucifer. And Lucifer is a son of God, right? Right here this is the plaque from the movie Matrix of when it shows the Nebuchadnezzar. And this plaque shows at the top, Mark 3, number 11. We go to that in the Bible. And whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." This is in reverse, though. This is Apollo, Lucifer is declaring him being the Son of God, disguised as Neo. Another story of a Lucifer, just like all the sun deities. Neo is a moving form of a sun deity. And once again, we see 69. 69. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, and this was in 2020. It's safe to say we are in his time. We are in tribulation. We are already here. I told you the New World Order is already here. We're just not yet at the great tribulation of the 5 months that Revelation mentions of his full reign during the time of the 7 trumpets. Woo! So, this is going to add on this. You're going to see this in perspective in the study that I'll do in next month. in as in the days of Noah, the sequel to the second Exodus. We'll talk more on this, of what all this means and the timing of it. But that concludes this study. Follow me, of course, on platforms if you can. Donate. If you can't donate, give me a prayer to have me only lead each and every one of you to the true light. But I just pray that I have given you understanding and wisdom to walk in that true light. And thank you for joining me in this study.